Alrighty. What's up, Ringside Nation? The Ring Boys are back. Coming to you live, covering UFC 297 from the Scotiabank Arena. What was, as I'd like to put it, a pretty lackluster card. Not the best card we've had. Not the best way to start off a 2024 calendar year from a pay-per-view, but it is what it is. How we feeling, boys? How we feeling?
It was a very mediocre way to spend like 5 hours of my Saturday, but we're here.
Doc?
Yeah, honestly, not a great look for the Canadians, but hey, there's a whole year to get better.
This is true. This is true. Alrighty. Without further ado, let's just go right into our main event. Obviously, Sean Strickland losing via split decision to Dricus du Plessis. When you have Alex Pereira in your corner walking behind you, you have to be pretty confident going into it. But overall, I know the judges have been probably drinking a little Molson ringside while they were watching all these fights, because I personally thought Sean Strickland won this one. I don't think Dricus did all too much. I mean, I guess the leg control and the takedowns were probably the difference maker, but his eye was just so swelled up that I'm still sure he can't see out of it right now. But yeah, it was obviously the fight of the night, being the main event. Dricus becomes the middleweight champion. But I got this one right. I'm not taking any credit for it because I don't think he did enough. I don't think he won this card. Artie, let's go into your feelings about this one.
I fully agree. I think Sean showed that he was way more technical. And while we were watching this, you heard me say it, I think it was in the second or third round, like about halfway through, I said, where are the T-kicks? When Sean came out and he was throwing his T-kicks, it looked like he was controlling the range of that fight, and then he stopped all of a sudden. And I think that's what allowed Dricus to like really come out and start working on his takedowns. I feel like maybe that could have been the reason why some of the judges gave him the 3 middle rounds for the fight. But nonetheless, I mean, both looked very good. I think if you had any doubts about DDP's cardio performance, gone out the window now. He was there for all 5 rounds. He was very active the whole time. I don't know. I don't feel satisfied after watching this one, personally, but Doc, on to you.
Yeah, I think that it was a very close fight. It could have gone either way. I also thought Strickland won, but I don't feel bad about like the way that the judges scored it. Few things that I learned. One, I thought that Strickland looked very tired after the third round. And I don't know if I've never seen him look this tired. And I don't know if it was because it was a tough weight cut. He didn't look great at the scales the prior day, way worse than du Plessis, but maybe it was him trying to show that he's locked in. But yeah, I don't think that he had too much energy. But all of a sudden in the 5th round, he came out almost like he was waiting for the 5th round, thinking that du Plessis won't be able to do anything then, and then he'll smother him and get him out of the ring. The other thing is we got to see a little bit of Sean Strickland's wrestling, and it didn't live up to what he's been saying. So they were saying that he was able to control light heavyweights before in practice, and du Plessis was taking him down before the 5th round. Du Plessis was taking him down pretty easily, holding him there, not doing too much on the ground, but still getting him down, and that really messed things up for Strickland. And I know the commentators were talking that Strickland should maybe change up his stance, get a little bit lower to the ground, prevent those takedowns. He didn't do that because his jab was doing fantastic. But yeah, so those are the two biggest takeaways I'm taking from this fight. I think there was a tough weight cut. I really do. I would have liked to see Strickland do more in the middle rounds, kind of how he normally does. And I want to see this run back, but not immediately. I agree with Dana that we can give it a bit of time, but I'm not super upset with the way that the judges had it. I could have seen it go either way, but happy for South Africa. Those videos of South Africans celebrating was awesome. But yeah, great main event, I would say. Or
Yeah, I think as the fight went on, you could see Strickland getting more gassed as he was lowering his hands. And I didn't think it was because he was too tired, but he was just trying to prep himself to stuff those takedowns. And I remember Drakus had a takedown where he faked it at the end in round 5, and Sean just like jumped, and I was like, oh no, he has everything felt out on him. But we live to tell the tale. I think I agree. I don't want to see this one run back yet, but there are a ton of interesting permutations for this. I think Israel Adesanya obviously hopping onto Twitter instantly and saying, we're next up. The Battle of Africa is coming. I think Dana White said in the press conference that they're looking into UFC Africa at some point this year. I think that would be sick if we do Drakus versus Israel. And I think Israel should be next in line for the title fight. What do you guys think?
I think that UFC Africa card has to happen kind of soon, considering he missed out on his chance with having Kamaru, Israel, and Francis being champs at the same time and not having an Africa card, and now all of them are not champs. So he's got to do it fast while he has a African champ.
Yeah, I think this is happening on 300. If there was a time for it, if there was a place for it, I think it's 300. DDP and Izzy. If DDP said in his post fight interview that he wants to fight on 300, but we'll see how it goes. Usually we'll get that from any fighter. Like, yeah, let's turn it around quick, and then something comes up. You're a champ. You got to take a month off to go visit family, visit your country, show off the belt, and then you get into the training. So we'll see. It would be really cool to have that on 300. I don't think it will happen, but then those thoughts of a UFC Africa card, it'd have to be like beginning of the summer pretty much. So yeah, it'll be interesting.
Sean Strickland obviously looked a little upset storming out of the ring after this one, so I'm just wondering what we think is next for him. Was on Twitter obviously looking around. Fans were saying Sean should fight the winner of Vettori versus Allen. Sean should fight Robert Whittaker. But already behind the scenes, you brought up a really good point. You think Sean versus Khamzat Chimaev would be an interesting next fight for him?
Yeah, I agree. I think, and I said this to you before Doc got on, so I'll just repeat myself again. I think no matter if DDP won or lost, Izzy was going to be fighting him, whatever next chance they have, because I think there was bad blood to be settled no matter what. And I think no matter what, Khamzat Chimaev was going to be fighting Sean Strickland. I think there is a way of Dana trying to get people into the top 5 of this division because, as I said to Alex, it's just for what I can remember, 185, the top 5 has been exactly the same with just very little change for the last 3 years, I'm pretty sure. So we need something to shake it up. I know Sean has taken on opponents who are kind of out of the top 10, closer, I think, what was his name? Imbus something, right? The guy from Germany. And he had knocked him out. Yeah, and he knocked him out. And that was going to be our chance to see somebody new in the top 5 and the top 10, and it just didn't happen. So maybe he is going to be the gatekeeper going forward, and maybe that'll be his job at the 185 division.
Yeah. I don't know if I would like to consider him a gatekeeper. And I think that Khamzat needs a few more fights before he really gets into the top 5. But we'll see. One thing that I do want to say, though, is I think although Strickland was upset, I think he was very respectful in the way that he didn't crowd the mic after the fight. He didn't call out the judges on anything. He said what he needed to say, and he left the ring to give Drakus his time. So props to him for doing that.
Dana didn't look too happy when they announced Drakus won. He went to put the belt around his waist. I noticed that, and I thought that was pretty funny. And they were obviously hounding him at the press conference. They're like, well, if, Sean going forward is going to be a big superstar, like, are you worried what he's going to say with like sponsors? He's like, zero. I have zero control over what they say, nor do I care. Like, it's free speech. They say whatever. But yeah, overall, I think this was a good technical bout. I don't think this was the battle to the death that Sean and them agreed upon. We'll see. I'll have to watch this one back a couple times, but
he did bleed for Canada, though.
He did bleed,
as he made sure to tell him.
He did. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe with my luck, I'll wake up tomorrow and it's Sean Strickland versus Ian Gary in a bare knuckle brawl for whatever reason.
Well, one thing, Sean did tweet after the fight that there was a headbutt in the second round. I didn't see it. I don't know if you guys saw it, but he said it was pretty hard to see after that happened.
Interesting.
For him? For Strickland? Strickland couldn't see it?
Yeah.
Interesting. Because I can't believe Duplessis could see with his
I agree.
I don't know. It's like, obviously he had the eye, but there was one thing that I wanted to bring up before we move along here. The judges obviously take damage into account, but I think it was John Anik who was said during commentation, during his commentary, was the judges take damage into account, but they score it for the round. They don't score it for the overall look of the fight. So if you get a cut in that round is the only time they should score it for. So I think Sean got cut twice. Dracus obviously gets the eye going, really swelling up and nearly going shut. And then Dracus gets cut again. So it's like they were kind of net even on damage if you think it from a round to round basis, but you put them side by side, picture to picture. It's like, how did Dracus win this if we're putting damage into account? I think that's a thing we haven't really thought of factoring in the mix.
I mean, I think it's because Sean was just bleeding all over the place, and Dracus, there wasn't much blood, or his cut man was really taking good care of him. I mean, he definitely looked like his face was messed up, but Sean had blood from both ends of his eyes. He had a cut on top of his head, which might have been the headbutt that he's talking about or whatever it was, but like, it's tough.
I mean, looking back at it now, we already know that what the scorecards say, so I don't know.
We'll have to wait and see what happens next in the middleweight division. Nonetheless, we move on to another exciting fight of the night. And boys, the women's bantamweight division's back. Are we kidding me? Nah, I'm not even gonna. Obviously, Raquel Pennington getting the unanimous decision over Myra. Myra was a 3-1 UFC favorite opening up, and Pennington was 5-5 as a UFC dog. Pennington not listening to her corner at all, going back to the clinch, just like trying to out wrestle and prove a point, I guess. But when she was standing on her feet, she was outstriking her. She was getting into the mix. I'm surprised she didn't finish her at some point. Like, she didn't have time. I think it was the second or third round that it was closing out. But every time Myra went for the choke, she was either just so sweaty and so slippery that she couldn't get it. And at one point, she just started showering herself because she was so tired and just dumping water over herself. I don't know what the approach was there, but she did not have any cardio whatsoever for Myra Bueno Silva. And Raquel Pennington, after 10 years, finally gets the belt. Dana said he's happy for her. And I think Juliana Pena is next up here, boys. What do we think? What do we think here?
Yeah, if I'm Juliana Pena, I watched this and I was like, good. Because whoever she's going to be fighting next, I think Juliana Pena is a very, very good fighter. We can't forget that she won against Amanda Nunes, and then in their second fight after that, it was still pretty close. Like, I don't know. I watched this and I thought to myself, like, if you're Bueno Silva, you have to think to yourself, like, poor performance. You came out first two rounds, looked kind of solid. You were there. You tried to wrestle. As soon as you started getting hit in the face, Raquel kind of just overpressured her. And then rounds 3, 4, and 5, Bueno Silva was just okay being on her back and like not doing much at all. I think we were watching this, and it was sad all around, in my opinion.
Kind of crazy though how Pennington has had this career resurgence where she gathered a ton of losses in the beginning of her career. All of a sudden, something switches up and she starts winning, and she starts winning in dominating fashion. Her stand-up game was great, and if she would have listened to her corner, not tried to engage other than the stand-up, I think that she would have gotten Bueno Silva out of there. And like you said, poor performance for Bueno Silva. What was she doing in the 5th round? She was like trying to take a nap. And I think in the 3rd round, she went back to her corner. I was confident that she was like bawling her eyes out. She looked like she did not want to be there. She looked like those punches really hurt her in the face, and terrible performance. Like not, I. It's almost like she completely lost interest in being a fighter during that moment. Her soul was taken out of her by Pennington. So yeah, as Alex alluded to, not actually too great of a showing in the bantamweight division. We all, or I guess I'll speak for myself. I wish Nunez was still here because she is clearly the best fighter in this division, in this weight class. But yeah, we'll see what Juliana Pena does. But a few interesting prospects. Maybe Pennington is better than what we saw again today. Maybe if she can always be standing up, that she'll be a good champion. But I don't know where we go from here. I know that Bueno Silva needs to think a lot about this loss and her dedication to the game, because she looked like she did not want to be there. She was trying to sleep in the 5th round. Not good.
Where we go from here is we get Valentina Shevchenko a meal plan, bulk her up to bantamweight because the bantamweight division is back, and run Myra Bueno Silva versus. Nah, I'm just playing. Yeah, no, Doc, I agree with you entirely. I think we're all in full agreement. Pena's next. She's going to be champ one day when they make that fight. I don't think Raquel. She was just giving her back up way too much throughout the 5 rounds. Like, yeah, you were doing enough to defend it. You were hand checking great. You were doing great on the feet, but just not a great showing of defense. So
it was close. Bueno Silva was. I think she was very close.
It was
to getting her out of there. Maybe she burned out her arms doing it. I don't know.
She was hand checking her very well. Like, she wasn't allowing her to get into the mix. Yeah, she got a couple of chokes, but Myra was just so gassed. She just couldn't squeeze it through. It's just, you hate to see it. I don't even want to talk about it anymore. I just want to see Pena fight Pennington, Pena win, and that'll be a ringer from the Ring Boys. But yeah, we all got this one wrong. It is what it is. All credit due to Raquel Pennington. Myra is on RD's fantasy team, so he does steal a point here. So he goes from 5 points to 6.
Tough.
Yeah.
You hate to see it.
Yeah. We forgot to bring that up on the pre-show, but we'll have to just bring that up real quick and move along here.
That might be the only point you get from Bueno Silva after she retires.
Nonetheless, we move. Neil Magny versus Mike Malott. Mike Malott opened up with like a huge head kick, and I was like, okay, he's ready to get it going for the fans. Mike Malott dominated the entirety of the fight for like the first 3 rounds, and then out of nowhere, Neil Magny like gets his takedown, tries to slam him, establishes position, and then just pulls off the upset. And Mike Malott was just laying on the mat and just sat up like a kindergartner waiting for his apple slices, sitting crisscross applesauce. And he just looked gassed. He definitely has a cardio problem. He just couldn't fit. I mean, Neil Magny is one tough MFer, but he like could not finish him at all. And I don't know, maybe Mike Malott needs to get back in the gym, hit the weight room, do a little cardio, but not a good display for Mikey in front of his hometown crowd.
I agree. I don't know if he was necessarily gassed at the end or if he was still in disbelief that he won decisively for, I want to say, probably 13 minutes or so. And then all of a sudden, I don't know what happened. Neil Magny, halfway through the 3rd round, something just flipped a switch and he turned it around. He got he started to out wrestle him a little bit. He took control. I think that's where that control time on the stats is coming from, is at the end of that round. And he took the ground and pound, and he showed that he can close out a fight. That's what Mikey didn't have. And, congrats to Neil Magny, but tough to see. I was really hoping to see Mike Malott be in the top 15, because he was a good prospect, but maybe he really wasn't what we thought he was. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think obviously the cardio is an issue here. He needs to start fighting outside of Canada, because if you're only fighting twice a year because those are the only Canadian cards, this is what you get with your cardio. Yeah, he needs to work on it. He must have gotten cocky. I was thinking that the Canadian crowd would be enough for him to keep going at the end, but I don't know. I don't know what's up. What's up with how that ended? Again, the male fighters from Canada on this card did not show up, and truly a shame that the crowd wasn't enough, that the country fighting in front of your country wasn't enough to keep you going. So I don't know. I don't think that his stock is completely drained after this, but he definitely has a lot of things to work on, and he needs to fight outside of Canada. He needs to fight more often. So then we know, is he the real deal or not? Because some people think that this is it. I'm not one of those, but
do you think he deserves to fight within the rankings and get another ranked fighter, or do you think he takes some time and gets whoever they throw to him?
no, I don't think he should be in the rankings right now. No.
I'm saying his next fight should be someone within the rankings.
I don't think so.
I agree.
No. If you're trying to build a prospect, you need to have them be confident. Right now, he's not going to be confident. He's going to be thinking about this moment where he ran out of cardio. He's going to be now reckless in the first 2 rounds going forward, because he's like, I don't know if my cardio is there. This is going to put some doubt into his head. So he needs to build up some confidence, get the mental game strong again, and then maybe 1 or 2 fights not in the rankings, and then try to get through. Hope Neil Magny retires by then, but we'll see.
Yeah,
good.
Your talk of building a prospect. He's 33.
32.
I mean, 32. Yeah. I mean, at what point are you just, is 32 too late to be still trying to crack the top 15 and kind of build your resume? Like
Jim Miller?
Yeah, but Jim Miller.
Okay.
Come on. All right. Okay. Jim Miller fights outside of whatever hometown, the home country he's in, so we'll be all right there, I think. But yeah.
The last point I want to bring up, we talked about this behind the scenes, obviously, but when you're in your, early 30s and you're in the UFC, obviously a guy like Bo Nickel who's 27 and has a great, background to mention. What do you guys think is the range of you're starting that into your prime, and then what point and what age do you think you start to regress and you start to see trend of fighters go down the way? Like, what do you guys think is the range on average?
I would say that there's not many fighters above 35 that can do anything. But it also depends how many years I think you've been taking damage. So if you've been wrestling if you've been wrestling up until the age 28 and not starting to do any sort of MMA, then you have a lot more years left in you than if you've been fighting MMA since you were 18 and gotten knocked in the face all this time. That's my opinion. Also, as we saw, Marcus McGee, he's a late bloomer. He's also like 32. I think he's also a real prospect that has a chance to at least get into the top 10.
Yeah, I think you're right at the 35. I think prime is really 31 to 34, in my opinion. But it's also hard to tell because we have people like Jan Blachowicz in the UFC where the man won a UFC championship when he was 40. Same thing for Glover Teixeira. Like, it's hard to tell. I think it really does kind of point back to what you said, Doc, and it's how long you've been in MMA. Which, as soon as you said that, the first thought in my mind was Max Holloway. Max Holloway is 32, and he's been fighting for who knows how long. So is he out of his prime at 32? Is he just hitting his prime at 32? Hard to tell.
He also just turned 32 like a month ago too. So,
Yep.
Yeah, no, I agree with you guys. I think you're right on that window, like that 31 to 34. But I think outside of 36 and up, that's when you start to see signs of regression. But I don't know. I mean, Mike's got to hit the gym, do some running, do some lifting, do some eating, and I want to see him come back stronger. As for Neil Magny, a shower thought I had was obviously this fight would never happen, but I'd like to see him go against Stephen Thompson. I don't think they've ever fought. Obviously, a wide range in the rankings. I see Doc already disagreeing with me, but I think that'd be a fun fight. I don't think it would be too fun to watch, but just from the technicality and range, I think that would be an interesting one to book for Neil Magny next. But I'm not.
That would be disrespectful to Stephen Thompson.
But hey, does Stephen Thompson even want to keep fighting? He's obviously starting to train, and work through his teaching career. Maybe he's out the door soon. Maybe he fights Colby Covington. I don't know.
What Stephen Thompson wants to do is stand up and strike with people that don't wrestle. That's what he wants to do.
Fair enough.
And he can do that forever.
Fair enough.
Yeah, you don't give that to a guy who's 36 going down to 37. You give it to somebody who's 30, in that range that we just talked about, right? Because they're more likely to be deserving of that ranking because they will actually do something with it and maybe be more active and be more promising in the UFC.
So what do you guys think is next for Neil Magny then? You think he stays active or do you think he waits to get someone higher up in the rankings?
I think Neil Magny isn't chasing a title. He is serving a purpose for Dana. And once he realizes that his only purpose is to be this gatekeeper to the top 15, he'll retire because he knows he's not going to be a champion, but he's still getting paid. I hope he's getting paid well because he's doing his job well. He's really filtering out the who the real deal is from who isn't the real deal.
Him and Arlovsky have a very similar type of role in the UFC. So
great. Yeah, and I think he wants to extend his win records and his going to decision records as long as he can. But nonetheless, as we move along here, just one thing to note at this point on the card, they did announce Ikram Oskarov was scratched from 298. Roman Kopylov hops in. I think he opened up as minus 198 to fight Anthony Hernandez. So that's something we'll have to keep our eye on. And another thing we'll have to keep our eye on is how you guys both disagreed and didn't think Chris Curtis would get the job done here. Marc-Andre Powerbar Barrialt, obviously not being able to do enough. This was a snooze of a fight for the first two rounds. Obviously, they started to turn it up in the third round, and I was like, okay, now we got it going. But it's hard when you have Eric Nixick as your head coach, to go against and have a game plan. Normally, Barrialt's like the aggressor, but he came out and he was just respecting Chris Curtis. He's obviously 0-3 as a UFC dog, now 0-4. And I don't know, Barrialt was bleeding. They started to throw a lot more in the third round, but in the end, Chris Curtis wins a boring split decision, in my opinion. But I'll defer to you boys.
Super, very, very strange split decision. Because if you look at what the judges gave, and it was 30-27, 30-27, and then one judge had it 28-29. Like, I don't know what they were thinking this whole card. But, yeah, nonetheless, pretty boring in my opinion. And you can always tell when Chris Curtis gets bored, because that's when he starts getting a lot more emotional. You saw it in round 1 and 2. He was screaming, he was yelling at the fans, and then, as soon as the fight was over, he took the mic and he said, "I'm sorry we didn't die for you. Next time we'll try harder." That was funny to me, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like I expected more of this, and my call out from the pre-show too, where I'm not sure why the fight before this one came out as the fight before that one, but yeah, maybe some editing could have been done to the card to make it a little bit better, but behind us at this point.
Yeah, I would score this fight 29-28 Curtis, first 2 rounds Curtis, last round Barrialt. But talking about Curtis getting emotional, I think in the second round he looks at Marc-Andre and is like, let's actually fight. Like what he was twirling, they were like dancing around the ring. not doing anything. So yeah, first 2 rounds not the most exciting, but what they did at the end was reminiscent of that Holloway fight where he was like, all right, let's throw down. So that was awesome.
Yeah, like at one point, Chris Curtis just like got so frustrated, turned around and like motioned him into the middle of the ring, and then they did that at the end, Max Holloway style, and they just started throwing, and that was fun to see. But nonetheless, I was the only one that got this right. I feel bad about this one, similar to the main event, because it was an interesting one. I looked into that 28-29 just now, and it was Derek Clearly. This has been a common theme, I think, throughout the card. Like, all the underdogs were hitting, all the split decisions were being called, and all the judges, as we didn't know, were being rotated around. And it was just like, we just feel like there was so many inconsistencies across the board for the judges. But like, this is a prime example of the fight. It's like, okay, 2 guys have a 30-27. Where did this 28-29 come into the mix? But Doc, I agree with you. I think this was 29-28 Curtis.
Yeah, I don't think 30-27 is
not at all
an accurate card either. But at least in this fight with the split decision, the correct person won.
Yeah.
So I don't feel that bad. It looks weird on if you look back at Curtis's career, this fight will look weird at being a split decision because I think that it should have been unanimous. But a win's a win at the end of the day.
And that is all we have for that fight. All right, Doc.
All right, yeah, let's stop you right there. We'll take it from here. As predicted, Evloev absolutely annihilated Arnold Allen. If it wasn't for the illegal knees that Allen threw 3 in a row, Evloev would have looked the same as he's looked after every single fight, which is beautiful. No blood streaking down the face, no sweat dripping down the brow. Allen couldn't do anything. And I think Allen also got outstruck. So not only did he get out-wrestled, he got outstruck by Evloev. And this was a dominating fashion. 29-28, the only reason he wins a round is because he probably concussed Evloev. Evloev could have taken the easy way out, settled for his win because of this illegal strategy from Allen. And what else? There's nothing to say. People were putting like $50,000 on Allen. No, that's stupid. Evloev should be 18-0. He has won every single round that I've ever watched him fight. And this last round that he theoretically lost was because of illegal stuff that was thrown that I think the judges should have taken into account. Anyway, great performance for Evloev. One thing that I was shocked about was that Dana said that this was a boring fight. I did not think that this was a boring fight. Very technical on the feet. Evloev was able to take Allen down effortlessly. He didn't do too much damage on the ground, which I was a bit shocked on, which is, I think, a testament to what Allen has been working on in his camp. But overall, I was very happy with this. Evloev is the real deal. I don't think he gets the title shot next. I think he has a few more fights. We need to build up my fantasy ranks with his points. I'll take the 3 points from here. Hopefully he gets a knockout soon, because I'll take 5 as well. But thank you. Thank you for giving me my time. Evloev in dominating fashion over Arnold Allen. Arnold Allen, he was definitely upset. He's a great fighter. He'll still be up in the top, but he's no Movsar Evloev.
All right, let me help you off your high horse here. 5 for 17 on takedowns is not the most dominant performance. I think he had pretty good takedown D. I wouldn't say he got dominated. I think Movsar was incredible. He had that insane gator roll to escape a choke. I will justify that the first 2 knees were legal. The third one was a little iffy because he was pulling him up and he was trying to get him into the mix. But what do I know? I'm just kidding. But yeah, no, I mean, he obviously won. You did say he was going to get finished. He obviously didn't get finished. I think Arnold Allen showed his toughness, and Movsar, I disagree with you. I think pending what happens with Topuria Volk, I think the permutation there is if Volk wins and Topuria loses, Movsar comes in right away. I don't care about Yair Ortega. I don't care about the winner of that matchup. If Volk wins, Movsar comes in. If Topuria wins, for whatever reason, I think the obvious fight should be Movsar next and have 2 undefeated fighters go for the belt. That would sell very well. But no, this is the UFC here. I don't think they're going to just let Movsar come into the mix and just go, get his title shot right away. But I think this easily stamps his passport. He should be fighting for the title his next fight. And if he doesn't, I'm going to be a little upset. But hey, it was a good fight.
Prepare to be upset.
It was a good.
He's not.
Yeah. I don't think they're going to give it to him. But I think this stamps his passport. He should be fighting for the title. Artie, before we get to you, Doc does get his 3 points. He called 5, but he was off on that one. It was a good fight. You win. You were right. I'm sorry. And Artie, what are your feelings on this bout?
Yeah, Movsar Evloev came out and he showed exactly what he talked about in his post-fight interview. He is a very complete fighter. I don't know what the permutations could be. I think I don't know why he wouldn't get the title fight next. I don't know. Like, I guess if Ilia Topuria is at 5 and he's getting the title shot, why wouldn't somebody like Movsar Evloev, who's 18-0, like, I feel like that's a bigger deal than most people make it out to be, being undefeated and going into a title fight. That would be very cool to see if he continues to be undefeated or if that happens to be his first loss. But yeah, I mean, very good fight. I think both fighters, they came out there to put on a show, and yeah, Movsar Evloev, 6th decision win in a row, or 7th or something like that. So
Decision merchant. But yeah, no, I completely agree. Just thinking through the permutations, obviously we discussed Movsar. I think his title bout ready. He did call out before this fight, if Max ends up losing and stays in the division, he wants him next. What are your boys' thoughts on that? I think that's a little harsh for a request for Movsar.
Tough request, in my opinion.
You said dumb request?
I said a harsh, like, you're not in the position to make that request yet.
I think he is, but I don't think he should be making that request. It doesn't make sense.
It's up to Max at the end of the day. Max should be the one saying, I want this fight. I don't think he has, precedence over Max on making his next fight. I get he's undefeated. I get he's, into the mix, but, I think he should calm down a little bit.
I don't think he's doing that anyway. Why would you want to wait? So we know Max's next fight is UFC 300. If you're Movsar Evloev, do you really want to wait that long before you fight again? This is like the real question, I guess.
That's a better point. I agree with that. But it would still be a fun fight to watch, in my opinion. But I don't
100%.
think it's the correct. I don't think it's the correct call out either. Evloev, he just needs to try to get to the title fight. So whatever the path is, that's what Evloev should be doing. He shouldn't be focused on fun fights right now. Get the title, then you can focus on fun fights.
I will be so sick if they announce the winner of Yair Ortega gets the title fight. I'll be so upset. I don't want that to happen at all. But what do I know? Before we move on, Arnold Allen, what's next for him? I think I brought this up, but fan favorite fight would be him, Josh Emmett, in my opinion. But I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think Josh Emmett should also be trying to get to the title, and that's not through Arnold Allen. He is also one of the elderly in the division, that he has one more title run, and then he retires. That's what it should be.
Yeah, I think Emmett gets the fight between Ortega and Yair next. The winner of that, and then he'll have a title shot if he wins, which in reality, like, it's going to be Yair. I think we all agree on that, but I don't think he would beat Yair Rodriguez. And I think have we seen that already? Have they fought before?
I'm just going to say that I think that Yair and Emmett have fought. And that was Yair winning it in pretty dominating fashion, from what I remember.
Almost exactly a year ago, pretty much.
It was still fun to watch.
Yeah, he got him to tap on that one. Yeah, no, I agree with you boys fully. I think Arnold Allen takes the loser of that fight, which ends up being Ortega, potentially. And then I think Josh Emmett fights Yair Rodriguez, but...
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with you on what you just said, but
I want to see Allen. I want to see Allen in the mix. I want to see him active. I want to see him fighting, you know, top
He
guys.
will be.
I don't think he should be fighting someone below him. I think he should get another, you know, fight with someone who's a higher rank than him. But we'll have to see.
I don't think we should be too worried about Arnold Allen. He's 29.
I just
Like,
left the man. Leave me alone.
Yeah, they're both very young. There is a lot of time
Yeah.
on their UFC careers that's left. Like, there's no reason to be worried about what their next thing is going to be. Like, I think we all would want Mozart to be more active, so I don't think the Max Holloway thing makes any sense. So, yeah, we'll see what happens going forward.
After he escaped that ninja choke and did a gator roll, I'm so excited for what's next for Movsar. I want to see a title fight for the boy. I'll say it over and over again. But nonetheless, we got more fights to cover. We got Brad Katona, whatever, losing via unanimous decision to Garrett Armfield. Katona started this and just like hit Armfield's cup twice, and he took a timeout. But he was throwing some like wild knees, a lot of feints from both guys. But in the end, I see Doc shaking his head already. Katona just couldn't win the battle on the feet. You know, you won the Ultimate Fighter twice, you get your chance, and then you fight a guy who's better than you, and you do not step up to the plate and do your best. Yeah, I don't know what's next for Brad. I don't know what's next for Garrett. I do know that Brad Katona got exposed in this one.
I agree with what you just said. Yeah, it's really frustrating to see Katona do this. He's one of the lucky fighters to get a second chance coming into the UFC, and he just didn't do anything in the first 2 rounds. That was significant. Really frustrating to see. I don't know what's up with that. I don't know if that's what his corner told him to do. I thought in the 3rd round he looked really good, but yeah, the first 2 rounds he couldn't get established. Maybe it's because his reach is so short, but he loses one more time, and then it's going to be the same story as the first time, and he's not going to get a 3rd chance. And I don't know what it is. I don't know if he gets some fear when he gets up to the big leagues here, but I was very disappointed watching Katona in that fight.
Yeah, I think it's the competition in the UFC might be just a step above of what he can actually do. I do think the biggest difference in this fight was the reach advantage. Outside of that, they look like very similar fighters. They're both built pretty much exactly the same. It's just Brad Katona could not get close enough to kind of start striking. So it was a good unanimous decision call. So I was happy with that one.
Agreed. Oh man, Charles Air Jourdain versus Sean the Sniper Woodson. Before we even start talking about the fight, Sean Woodson used to box as an amateur boxer. I think they mentioned his career was like 46-13. This is a featherweight bout. Sean Woodson used to box at 215. I saw a picture of him and it looks like a dude ate Sean Woodson. Like, it was absurd. Nonetheless, it was just Charles Jourdain feeling him out. Early like head kicks coming. Jourdain was just spinning, trying to throw him off balance, but Sean Woodson has had a tough, a couple of past years, and he looked pretty composed. Obviously, being in a car accident, some things changed. He went from boxing to the MMA. Woodson was minus 810 entering the 3rd round, and he like at one point Charles got a guillotine and almost submitted him, but he ends up losing to Sean via unanimous decision. And then you have this completely awkward exchange for the hand raise that I forget the new ref's name. I don't even want to bring his name on my podcast, but he hears like Charles, or he like, I don't know what he heard, and raises Charles' hand first. And Sean Woodson goes over to congratulate him, and DC walks over to Sean. He's like, "No, they said your name. You won." And they were all just kind of doing the Spider-Man meme and just looking at each other. They're like, "Wait, what?" But nonetheless, we all got this one wrong, similar to the Katana fight. Yeah, I think Sean Woodson was showing the range. He was just like shaking his head off, didn't look phased at all. Obviously, outstruck him on the feet. But yeah, I thought Charles Jourdain was going to do a little better than this, boys.
Yeah,
I don't think he did that bad. Do you mind if I go? Because he was my lock of the card.
Let's do it.
So I don't think he did all that bad. If you watch the fight, he was the one kind of keeping the fight going all 3 rounds. He had Sean Woodson on his back heel the whole time. Like, he got outstruck total strikes obviously by just a little bit, but I don't know. It was weird to watch because Charles was trying to do way too many fancy things that were never going to happen. The spinning back kicks, you're not going to reach a guy who has almost a foot in reach to you. Like, it's never going to happen. I don't know why he kept wasting his energy doing that. He was winning the exchanges when they would get close enough, and I thought he should have kept doing that because he had him against the fence for most of the fight. But he just didn't put his front foot forward, and yeah, I don't know. It was weird to watch. I didn't really like this one too much. It was strange because Sean was really counterboxing to what Charles was doing, and yeah, Doc, on to you.
Yeah, I'll say that Jourdain, he was focused too much on getting clips for his highlight reel, and it's probably because he was trying to make a show for the fans. But yeah, lots of spinning stuff, lots of high energy moves and just not landing. And yes, he was marching forward, which was nice to see. So his cardio is probably good enough. But I don't think his approach to this fight was very good, and he was more in it to put on a show rather than to win the fight. I think that um, Woodson did win this fight, so regardless of it being a split decision, I think that again, as long as the correct person gets the win, uh, I'm fine with it. But yeah, that ending with Jourdain just like assuming that he won. Uh,
Cringe.
apparently it was way too loud in the arena for them to hear. But yeah, I don't think Jourdain came in with the correct game plan, and that's what led to his loss. He could have probably won if he didn't throw so many spinning attacks and threw more accurate strikes instead.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, you have to think like Drakus was spinning a little bit more, and it's like when you're fighting an awkward, tall, lengthy person who's unorthodox, you got to do something to throw in the mix. But I didn't think he needed to. I think he had what it took to stand on the feet with him. He just wasn't doing it for whatever reason. But when you move along, uh, obviously this fight was on the Contender Series. Tavares ends up losing versus a controversial stoppage. They remake this fight. And they were pretty even in this exchange early. Sadi gets like a good hit back. They were countering counters. We knew this was going to happen. They were throwing pretty well. A really bloody matchup. But Tavares like started to duck and dodge and got like a bad knee early and was able to counter a bit more. They both looked like they were going to finish each other at one point. But at the end, Tavares gets the split decision. And if you go to like any MMA website, 100% of the media had this split decision 29-28 for Sadi. So I think, was it Sal Diamato that had the interesting card on this one? I forget which judge it was already, but yeah, I mean,
So
it's funny that they make this card to end the allegations, and now they're like, well, maybe we got to run this one back. I don't know, but I think we just found our UFC 300 main event, boys. Sadi versus Tavares 3. No, I'm just playing. But yeah, no, an interesting decision from the judges. I know Artie and I talked a lot about this, so I'll let you bring up your thoughts on the judges' scorecards.
yeah, it was Salim Hanif that had it. It was very different from the other two judges only giving City round two, which he definitely won round two, but I also think he did enough in round three to kind of solidify and do enough to win this fight. Very, very strange split decision. Like, I guess the UFC announcers have kept saying, damage does mean a lot to the judges when the fight does keep going, but like the dude was just kind of standing there teeing off on him. Like, I get there was a lot of damage. He broke his nose early. There was a lot of blood, but I don't know. That felt weird, but it definitely was a great fight to watch. There's absolutely zero defense. This is like watching an NBA game go to 300 points. Like, this is kind of what you want to see. So I think we were still like super hyped for the whole card. This was happening after a fight before this one, but yeah, very, very strange split decision. Doc?
Yeah, I'd say that I thought it was pretty clear that Sadi won rounds 2 and 3 here. I think he lost the first round, and I am assuming that the blood coming down from Sadi muddied the picture, where they should have just said that the first round is what caused the blood, and then not even focus on it when they were judging rounds 2 and 3. And I know that that's hard to do, but Sadi kept on marching forward, was landing more accurate shots. It did look like he was wobbled a few times, but somehow he would get right back up and then continue to march down Tavares. Really unfortunate. I think that this should have put the question mark out of the picture in terms of who's better in this matchup, because I think that Sadi won this fight. That being said, what is exciting that these are both guys with endless cardio, endless striking. They need to work on some wrestling and some defense. But hopefully they keep fighting a lot and can try to move up in the division.
I'm gonna say endless cardio with a little asterisk for Tavares, because he was almost 5 pounds over the weight limit, which, in my opinion, like,
Would be a point.
if you're Sadi, like, how do you even take this? I get 1 or 2 pounds over. Like, if he came in and he was like 127, right? They fought at 125, right? Or no,
35?
135. Yeah, if he was 130, like 136, 137, and he was just a little bit over, and you take this, like, okay, it makes sense. He was 139.8. Like, it's tough. And Tavares, right after the fight, said to DC, "Yeah, I'm gonna get a new nutritionist," because if you guys have watched, DC likes to give guys a little bit of a hard time, especially if they miss weight. Which, good for him, because they should be. It's unexcusable, especially if it's almost 5 pounds.
He should be giving people tricks on the towel trick, but
If DC released a merch line of towels, it would go sold out in minutes. But yeah, I don't think we remake this one. I hope they never fight each other ever again. I'm sick and tired. Let's just close that chapter out. Moving on, Jillian Robertson, Polyana Viana. As I like to call her, Baby Jazz Vicious. Jillian gets the arm triangle choke, loses it. A lot of control time in the first round for her. Then she gets another takedown, gets the TKO in round 2. And a fun statistic that they mentioned was she ties Jessica Andrade for second place for the second most UFC women's history finishes with 9. Obviously in first, Amanda Nunes with 10, who was also ringside. And yeah, I mean, it seems like it was the opposite story. It was all Canadian fighters. When we put in the "Oh Canada" parlay, it seemed to be the "Oh no Canada" parlay. But she showed up to the challenge. She did what she had to do, and she got the job done and earned a performance bonus of 50 Canadian dollars.
You think is it Canadian dollars? Do you think that he gives out
No,
in Canada?
I was just making it.
That would be funny though.
Yeah.
After a lackluster card, giving them Canadian ones. So I can go next. Yeah, Robertson put on a great performance in front of her hometown fans, home country fans, and she was super emotional after the fight, which was, I don't know, I appreciate seeing that. But yeah, she did a great job. She completely dominated Viana, and showed that she has both the grappling game, the submission game, and the power in her punches. So good for her.
Yeah, kind of weird.
Yeah.
I don't even know if you call it, there's like levels to the UFC or how this works, but like Viana like didn't look like she belonged in there whatsoever. There might have been like just a little spark of something that happened like in the second, like at the end of the first round, but it was just nothing close. Jillian Robertson came out and put on a show and got the job done.
Yeah, couldn't agree with you boys more. And now Jillian goes onto her press conference after and called out, "I want a ranked opponent now, and I think we should throw Casey O'Neill to her and just let her go to the Wolves and then get Casey O'Neill out of the UFC." I'm just kidding. Moving along, Johan, still don't know how to say his last name. I'm not going to learn how to say his last name after his fight performance, but Artie and I got this one right. Before I do bring this up, we did get some outside compliments on the pod yesterday I wanted to bring to your attention, boys, because we missed the bell a lot yesterday. But I'm glad we missed it because we were so off on our predictions to the point that we got Jillian Robertson right, but we don't deserve to ring the bell on this card. We need to take a bell timeout. So you'll have to tune into the next episode if you guys want to hear the bell to all of our fans. But nonetheless, Sam Patterson started training when he was 12. He used to fight at 155. Now he's fighting at 170. And this kid has a good frame on him. He definitely needs to bulk up. From our understanding, they mentioned not a healthy training camp from Johan. But Sam Patterson gets the submission in round 1, says to the booth that this is the year I'm going to change my life. And I think we should be keeping an eye on this kid, boys. I'll let Doc go first because he thought Johan was going to get the best of him, and I want to hear why you were thinking that before the fight.
Yeah, I mean, I was wrong. Clearly, I was thinking that he was going to get some takedowns. He couldn't really do that, and Patterson really looked sharp both on the feet and at the end with the submission. His long extremities helped with this fight a lot, and yeah, he looked fantastic. Maybe. Yeah, I'm excited to see him fight next. Maybe it's just because Linus isn't UFC caliber. But yeah, Patterson looked really good. I'm shocked. I should have looked into Patterson a bit more here. But yeah, good job on the call out that Patterson was going to win.
Yeah, and this was apparently the second time he changed weights. So he started his career at 145, moved to 155, and now he fights at 170, which from what he said, it makes a lot of sense. He's at 6'3", so a lot of the fights, it just the range doesn't always make sense. I was like that one shot that Johan landed made me kind of worried because the announcers called it out right away. But Sam doesn't really move his head when he fights. He was like standing up straight, no head movement. So every time he threw, his head was just right open for any shot for him to take. But came out, I guess, decisive win, right? He got the takedown of the guy who should be a better grappler, and he got the submission over him. So exciting prospect in the UFC for sure. We'll see how he works on maybe some of the head movement. But yeah, will be good to see at 170.
Good point, Artie. Definitely, you got to start building off of good habits. And with good habits come good habits form. Jasmine Jazz the Vicious. I said it before. I'll say it now. With the Anaconda choke to end the round, it was close. It was close. It was a close fight, right? Jasmine Jazz the Vicious walks out to it, Coming Home by P. Diddy. Priscilla comes out to Zombie, disrespecting the GOAT, the Korean Zombie walkout. No one should be able to walk out to that song ever again. But Jasmine gets early takedowns, just starts wailing on Priscilla. And I think the ending count was like, remind me what it was like 228-4 on the second round of strikes. It ended up being 326-26, like a 300 strike differential. I think the biggest strike differential in a fight in UFC history was Max Holloway with like 445, I think was the stat we saw. But Jasmine Jazz the Vicious, man. I'm so happy for her. I'm going to be watching her every time she fights. But yeah, I think she showed up. Obviously, Priscilla was struggling with weight. They made this a bantamweight, and she just took out her anger on her and showed her that, yeah, you don't come into my ring and disrespect me and waste my time. Rip me out the plastic. I'm feeling brand new. That's what Jasmine said. What do you guys think?
Yeah, this was almost hilarious. The fight was never close. And I think the best way to put it is exactly what Jasmine said in the post fight is like Priscilla needs to get her stuff together. Like, what are you doing? You missed weight. You asked to fight at 135. Like, okay, sure, we'll go there. Then you show up at fight night and you just look like you don't belong in the ring whatsoever. Like, not even close. And yeah, it was 303-22 was the strike to numbers there. So really close. I'm glad we watched the whole thing for it to finish and a anaconda choke nonetheless, not punches. So yeah, Doc, on to you.
Yeah, I'm hoping Kachuria's UFC career is on the outs after this. You know, she has her history of like eye gouging, and now she has this history of not making weight, and also just getting destroyed in the ring. I think that's the trifecta of Dana being like you're out of the UFC. But yeah, Jazz DeVicious was super complete fighter. One thing that I do want to comment on, and it's something that the commentators were also saying, the way that she was going in for the choke seemed off to me. Like, I'm not a BJJ specialist, but she seemed to lock it around the neck. But then the way that she was trying to get leverage, she kept on going back to half guard instead of pulling off to the side. Not exactly sure why she kept on doing that, and also not sure why the coach. I'm assuming that the coaches were telling her to do this, but it seemed like that wasn't the correct way to get Caucheria out of there early. So, um, just strange to me. I thought that the chokes were locked in way earlier than 4 minutes into the third round. But hey, she put on a great performance, showed that she's good on both standing and on the ground, and great win for her.
Throw Priscilla and power slap. I'm sick of her. One other fact I want to bring up before we move along here. Jasmine Jazz DeVicious is 5-1 when she lands one takedown on her opponents. Just a singular takedown. So this just goes to show, like, obviously the striking was insane in display from her, but yeah, you don't want to go to the ground with this chick. She is a problem. First fight of the night and the last fight we have to discuss here, Malcolm X Gordon versus Jimmy the Brick Flick. And I brought this up before I made my pick. I don't know why I listen to you boys. But Jimmy Flick gets a submission. Jimmy Flick has had a really rough past couple of years. His dad, he wasn't even able to be affording his dad to come out to see this fight. And he's had his struggles. He's gotten a therapist recently, it sounds. But yeah, I mean, Malcolm Gordon started really well early of, the golden rule of pressure the wrestler. And he got the takedown slam, but then he didn't really do anything with it. And then they had a cute little double choke on each other to end the first round. And then Gordon comes out strong, just overswings, goes to the ground. Jimmy hops on him and just submits him. So he retired 3 years ago. Good to see a kid like this back. You never want to hear about outside ring struggles. And I wouldn't say we're watching or monitoring him, but he put us on notice, I'd say.
It was exciting. Yeah, it was definitely a way to start off the night. Malcolm came out swinging like, I was like, there's no way that this dude loses after this first round where he just put on an absolute show where it wasn't close. And then the second round, I don't know if he got gassed and just didn't have enough steam to kind of keep it rolling. But as soon as they got on the ground, Jimmy the Brick Flick, ended it. And fun stat for the night now, and since that I talked about on the pre-show, fighters that didn't make weight are now 6-3 since last October. So yeah, it was cool. It was a great way to start the night.
Yeah, I was hoping for Gordon to get the knockout here against Flick, but it's also a bit shocking to me given that Gordon's a black belt in BJJ as well, and it seemed like he gave up really a lot of submission attempts to Flick, which doesn't sound like a black belt to me. But yeah, Flick did a nice little flick of the wrist, did a little magic there, and pulled out a win out of nowhere. To me, he's very similar to Ryan Hall, where it's like all he wants to do is grapple and throw random submissions and hope one sticks. And it doesn't matter how much damage he takes. As long as he's conscious, he'll throw in a submission, and then hopefully he gets one. And when he does get the submission, I think this was his 8th or 9th arm triangle, something like that. He says it's his favorite choke. So it looked really good. It got tight super fast, and Gordon tapped very, very early on in that choke.
Yeah, I think they called it the Van Brick special or something. I thought that was a cool name for the choke.
There was the Von Flu choke.
Yeah,
he was trying to do it at the end of the first round. Yeah, the Von Flick.
They called it the Von Flick or the Von Brick. I thought they said Brick.
I heard Flick.
Oh,
I mean, whatever. It wasn't what won him the fight.
Yeah, it didn't help him anyway. Yeah, no, we'll have to see where it goes. His coach mentioned, he was like, "Dude, you have the stamina. You just be patient. You'll find your opportunity with this guy." And he obviously did. His coach said like you could go 5 rounds with this dude, and I was like, "We're in round 2 saying that. Like, what's going on here?" Since we're on the topic of strike differential, before we end here, Jimmy Flick's -34, 3 versus 37, significant strike differential, represents the largest statistical comeback finish in UFC flyweight history. So I thought that was pretty cool to see and to note. But yeah,
I don't recommend that Flick continues this strategy.
Nope, not one bit. But nonetheless, that is your card from us. Before I even start to bring up the numbers here of our picks, that's how I feel about the card as a whole. I did end up winning this card. I don't feel too hot about it. I went, what did I go, 5 for 12 in my picks. I called Duplessis winning the main event. Obviously, we just discussed his cardio and that whole main event altogether. We missed the locks of the card for Charles Jourdain and Mike Malott, but Doc proved himself right with Movsar.
Who got the lock of the card? That's right.
With Movsar alive. I can't wait till he loses the title. I'm going to rub it in your face.
Guaranteed. He doesn't have to win the title. He just has to beat Arnold Allen.
But nonetheless, prediction accuracy, I take this one home. Yearly overall accuracy, Doc and Artie are tied with 11 out of 23. I'm up 1 with 12-23. So we'll have to watch this going into the year. And Artie, I want you to take note of missed weight fighters and their records. We're going to track this throughout the year. I think that's going to be a fun thing to note. One last thing. We completely forgot to mention the fantasy draft numbers. The current score as it holds, Artie's in the lead with 6, Doc in second with 3. I have 1 now that, Arnold got a fight against Movsar. Movsar got the win over Arnold Allen, gives Doc 3 points. And Myra Bueno Silva gets the loss against Raquel Pennington, earning Artie a point to put him up. So, Artie has the win from Magomed, the loss from Myra. I have the loss from Arnold, and Doc has the decision win from Movsar.
Points are points.
Points are points. So we'll have to track that going throughout the year. No UFC next weekend. The following weekend, I think it's Nasruddin Imavov versus Roman Dolidze. An interesting fight.
Who's also on my fantasy team. Thank you.
Yep. So we won't forget to bring that one up. We'll obviously be doing a pre-show and a post-show on that one. Can't confirm attendance as of now. But that's it's going to be a wrap from the Ring Boys. Anything you boys want to bring up here?
You can only go up from this, right?
I hope
it can only get better.
I hope so. This was not a great way to start the year, but we go from here. You're only as good as your last fight, as they like to say. All right. Thank you, Ringside Nation. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Like, subscribe, comment, show some love. We do this for you guys. By the common man, for the common man. I don't know what's going on with my video, but we're going to end it on that. Bye-bye.